What have you seen as some of the most impactful changes or principles that women can follow to have a positive postpartum experience?
Yeah, I think the main thing is really preparing for it and not leaving it up to chance. And I think it's something that needs to be like thought about and prepared for just as much as your birth plan or how you're going to tackle pregnancy. So things like, so nutrition is one of them. So diet, I would stick to like warm, soft, easy to digest foods like soups, stews, oatmeals, porridges, things like that. And try to avoid like cold, like raw veggies, things like that in the beginning, because your digestion kind of shuts down during birth and you have to like restoke that digestive fire. So all of like the warm things, adding like a lot of healthy fats and a lot of protein is going to be really good for you. So even just like, you know, if you're having a bowl of oatmeal and just like stirring like a little bit of like ghee, into it will, do like wonders for everybody. So there is the nutrition then,
now also, that recommendation is probably so counterculture for so many women who were brought up in a diet culture, told eat low fat, you know, and avoid butter, avoid, you know, oils or all these things. Can you speak to that a little bit? Like how important or necessary is it to get fats?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I'm like a recovered calorie counter and low fat diet culture.
Yes.
And so fortunately,
many of us are. It's like you got to get that thinking out of your head because it will not help you in motherhood and this whole journey.
Oh my gosh, not at all. So fortunately, I had already gotten through that stage like well before I ever got pregnant with my first. But like healthy saturated fats, like your brain needs those to function. It needs it for cholesterol. Like cholesterol is a part of every cell. So I know like we're like scared of cholesterol, and I'm not going to speak to like what the right numbers are for everybody, but we do need cholesterol to like for our brain to function, and protein. We have all this like, you know, albeit good trauma. There's a lot of trauma from like going through the birth, your placenta has detached, you're like healing this wound inside your body. Like you need a lot of protein, you need the amino acids, like you need like these really high quality, like high densely caloric foods to like repair the tissue and like sustain you. You're not sleeping well. You're likely probably breastfeeding, which is taking a toll on your body too. So you need like even more nutrition than you did even so when you're pregnant, because now this baby's like on the outside and you're like creating like however many ounces of milk per day.
Like the nutritional requirements are actually greater in the postpartum, I believe, right? Than when you're pregnant.
Yeah.
As far as even just the calories you need to sustain breastfeeding.
Yeah, I have so many, there's a mom from my daughter's preschool who she's like talking about, you know, her like low milk supply and my lactation brownies have been like wonders for her. I'm like, yeah, but I'm like, is it just because you're eating more calories? Like, it's not like, are you eating enough? And she's like, I don't think I'm eating enough. I'm like, step one, eat more food.
Yes. Oh, that right there. Like, if I could clip one thing, it would be that to postpartum mamas, eat more food.
Yeah.
Do not count calories. This is not the time to diet.
Yes. And I know, like, I don't know, I grew up in the 90s and with the magazines and like me, I'm as anybody else, like I'm just as guilty of like the wanting to like bounce back and the fit in the jeans and things. And now is not the time. It's not the time.
Yeah.
Like, there will be a time. Your time will come.
Yes. And I would argue that you will actually feel better and lose weight faster when you give your body the nutrition it needs, because it will have the fuel to burn to actually sustain your energy and properly burn off all that fat, that maybe the baby fat or whatever it is. Like when your energy center in your body is actually working rather than starving.
Yeah, 100%. I've seen so many stories of people who they like couldn't lose weight and then they started eating more and then actually lost weight.
Yes, because when your body goes into that survival mode, like it just holds on.
Yeah, it's like, I'm not letting go.
Like, no, we need this to survive. We're in hibernation mode. Like we're depleted and you don't want to be in depletion in the postpartum. I just remember being like ravenously hungry all the time when I was postpartum and having to like change my mindset of like, I need to eat more fat, more protein and more frequently, or else I am like ravished. Like it actually really was surprising to me because no one really warned me like how much more calories I would need in the postpartum. And I remember thinking, I am hungrier now than I am when I was pregnant.
Yes. I did not expect that with my first. I went to lunch with a friend only like 3 months and she didn't have any kids. And I was like, just like eating and eating. And I was almost like embarrassed. Like, how did I consume that much food just now? But then I look forward to it with the second and the third because I'm like, I enjoy being able to like eat so much.
Enjoy it. Yes, enjoy it, ladies. Like you're feeding yourself and your baby. And it's like you're creating those building blocks. Yeah. And like back to your point about fats, like not only do you need it for your brain, but you're growing your baby's brain. Like if you're breastfeeding, that's their only source of food and their brain grows tremendously in the first year of life.
Yeah.
And it's all from your breast milk. So how much more of that healthy fat do you need and those highly dense, nutritious foods to create another human's organs and brain and muscle and like they're growing all from you. It's kind of
do it for the baby. Do it for the baby.
Like if there was a time to say, I'm not eating for one, I'm eating for two, it's when you're postpartum.
Yeah.
I feel like, but how often do you hear women like use that as an excuse for eating crappy, like eating just junk food? And like, I hear that a lot, especially in pregnancy. And I'm like,
pregnancy, like, I'm eating for two. I'm like, well, you're not eating for two adults. And, you know, it's a little bit different, but like, getting like nutrient, I would say, as long as you're eating nutrient dense foods, like your body will regulate its hunger more when it, you know, when you're eating like my kids are like, oh, I'm hungry. I'm like, I'm hungry for something sweet. I'm like, if you're hungry, there's some like carrots and peanut butter. And they're like, oh, I'm not hungry for that. I'm like, well, then you're not hungry. But just focusing on like the really like nutrient dense foods, like all the processed junk, it's like people in a lab have created it. It's designed to make you like want to eat more of it. So you're never going to be like nourished and getting like the nutrients that you need from it. So you're going to constantly want to just keep eating that. But I mean, I'm like the queen of like creating a better option of all the foods that I want. Like I love tacos and pizza and enchiladas and all those things. And I mean, I do like to cook, but I just find better ways to make those things. And like you cook using like tallow or butter or trying to buy like grass-fed meats and organic produce when possible. But even if you can't afford organic or grass-fed, those still whole foods are still going to be better than the processed.
Absolutely.
Junk.
What are some of like, what would be like your top 3 to 5 recommendations for women can do, or maybe swaps or like things to prioritize if they're on a budget or they can't afford like massive lifestyle changes or all organic groceries? Like where does someone start? If they're just like, I want to feel better in the postpartum, where can I start, Holly?
Yeah, I definitely eggs. I mean, eggs are pretty affordable and those are like a perfect, like power packed. There's healthy fats, there's protein in them, and you can put eggs on anything and it becomes breakfast. Or even, like you can mix it. We have a rice pudding that we sell or even like oatmeal. And I would tell my husband when he heated it up, he would just like crack an egg in there and just like whisk it in. So you didn't even like know that it was in there. Rice and we do like a lot of like rice porridges. So it's called congee. So it's like a really overhydrated rice. It's from traditional Chinese medicine. So it's like more like a porridgey type rice. And you can throw like whatever veggies you have, whatever like meat you have, whatever scraps, but you kind of just everything goes in there. But I would say like eggs, probably like a high quality like ghee or butter would be great just to kind of cook in that, put that on everything. And like meat, really. I mean, meat is medicine.
Protein is the best. I'm a big believer in like steak all the way, baby. Like give me iron, red blood cells. Like it is the nature's superfood. Yeah. Do you get pushback from women who are like, I know we should be vegan, vegetarian, like, what's your opinion? Tell us your controversial opinion here.
I know. So I'm very much, and I've done both. And what I've seen, this is completely anecdotal, but I've seen a lot of people who have switched to a vegan or vegetarian lifestyle. And then they're like, I feel so much better because they've eliminated a lot of like the junk they were eating, but then end up not however many years or time period goes by and they don't feel good. And then they introduce animal products again and they're like, oh, I feel so much better. So I'm very, like a fan of like Weston A. Price, that whole philosophy. So when people come to us saying like, oh, I'm vegetarian or I'm vegan, I just say like, you know, even like Ayurveda and traditional Chinese medicine and Chinese medicine both say like, this is your most vulnerable, depleted time of life. And so they even recommend like vegetarians, like to consume animal products during this phase. So even like bone broth, and like, if you don't want to like eat like our chili or maybe like our creamy chicken, like we have a lentil stew that we make with bone broth. We have like a khichdi, which is an Ayurvedic dish that we have that has ghee, or our oatmeal has collagen peptides. So you don't feel like you're eating meat, but we believe that this is the most optimal nutrition for you. So if you don't, there is a girl local to me who used to prepare like vegetarian and vegan postpartum food. So I'd recommend them to her. I'm like, I'm sorry, we just don't offer that at the moment. And we really believe in that and getting like the nutrition. And we've had a lot of people who are vegetarian, like consume our stuff during postpartum and then go back to either being vegetarian or like, you know what, like I felt so great having bone broth. Maybe I will like keep this in my lifestyle. Like maybe they're not really like into like eating like meat. Like I have a good friend who she just still cannot get on board with eating actual meat, but she's doing like raw milk, eggs, bone broth, collagen, like getting it in other places that she can.
Yeah, that's so important. I love that.